So next, we're going to talk about high availability and fault tolerance. And both of these fall under the reliability pillar of the well-architected framework. And the quote that should be our driving force as we look at this concept comes from the CTO of Amazon. And he says that everything fails all the time. So as we start to build anything, even when we're looking at a cloud platform that has many capabilities, we need to be sure that we are building knowing that failure can happen at any point in our architecture. So let's look at the concept of reliability on AWS. And we're really going to look at two different concepts. The first is fault tolerance. This means that we're able to support the failure of components within your architecture. And if you remember, we have looked at this already when we've looked at services like SQS. And we looked at what we could do in using a queue to help mitigate challenges that would exist if some of our processing power were actually to go offline downstream from the queue. Then we also have another concept, and that's an overall concept of high availability. This means that we want to keep our entire solution up and running in its expected manner despite any issues that may occur. So let's look at how we build solutions on AWS with these things in mind. First of all, most managed AWS services provide high availability out of the box. And this is great because this limits the amount that we have to build. For example, if we're storing data using the S3 standard storage class within S3, that data is going to be stored across multiple availability zones. So we don't have to worry about building in a type of backup system for our production applications that's already baked into the service. However, when we're building solutions directly on EC2, for example, fault tolerance must be architected. We have to figure out where to build that in. And this goes back to our different cloud deployment models. If we're looking at solutions that are infrastructure as a service, this is where we need to really consider fault tolerance because we're going to have to figure out how to build it into our custom solutions. And at a minimum, we know that we need to integrate with multiple availability zones so that we can deal with the potential failure of a complete availability zone within a region. Now, some services can enable fault tolerance in your custom applications. So there's a few to remember. The first I alluded to earlier, and that is Simple Queue Service or SQS. We can build queues so that data or events that need to be processed can be held in the queue until they are ready to be processed. That way, if anything downstream goes offline, we can still have a functional application. But in addition, we also have Route 53. And we've discussed earlier within this path about how you can use Route 53 to detect if there are endpoints that are unhealthy and then route users to the right services that are available.